That's the capacitor. And what that does is it provides it just enough juice, and since it is not a actual lithium battery or anything, it lasts much longer. It's just two electrolytic capacitors, which have a very long life. This is the other option here. This is the cell here, 3.7 volts, 520 milliamp hour, 1.92 watt hour. I guess is what that means. And look, see, it's really just a simple Chinese factory manufactured. Really, I mean, look at it. It's really just the most basic of things. It's just, I mean, they all are really, but this one is just really funny because, I mean, look at it. It's literally just like stitched together, in a factory. I mean, look at the construction here. It's very you got a little PCB piece there, and you got the chemicals in there. Here's the electrolytic capacitor, and let's see, it's still the camera is still, yeah, it's still recording. I'm doing a test, by the way. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, as you can see, I already broke the quality seal on it because I no longer have any need for that. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is I took the battery out because I was having problems with the device. The whole thing was just not working right. So I was wondering if it was the battery. Now this thing is funny. It's kind of almost squishy, and I almost kind of want to take it apart because it's just so curious. Like it's really interesting how I mean, it looks like a piece of aluminum foil just wrapped up. I mean, it's just chemicals put together in a certain arrangement, and that's literally what it is. And here it looks like there's a little bit of corrosion, maybe. I'm not sure if that's corrosion or not. Actually, if it is, that could be our problem that we were having. Something like that is not what you want to have in a situation like this, okay? It's really just not a good thing to have, because if you get things like problems with the power, power fluctuations, if it's the circuitry, if it's the chemistry and the materials failure, you could get shorts, you could possibly get sporadic, like I said. Now the capacitor is another completely different animal. It is a very short-term power solution. Even though it's as big, it's much lighter, lightweight. These are electrolytic ones, which are among the best, the most expensive or the highest quality type. However, they're still just capacitors. Okay, they're not like a lithium battery cell. They don't contain anywhere near the amount of actual energy and power, but they do kick a punch, a short-term punch. These are the same exact things that people use, for example, in their car stereos. The guys who have serious subwoofers and all that stuff. Because their alternator, some of these guys even get custom alternators with like super power alternators, and they also have special batteries. Sometimes they even have extra batteries that they install. Um, and anyway, the capacitors that they use are like one farad in their ratings. They are enormous. They're like giant soda can size ones, and those things can kill you when they're charged up and you short them out. In fact, I saw a video on YouTube of somebody making a railgun that fired an aluminum projectile. At least if it wasn't a hoax, it did. And it was made by basically taking aluminum rails, like construction grade, in the back of their trunk of an old car, and taking the rails and taking heavy duty industrial capacitors, lining them all up into a huge bank of these capacitors, and then charging them with, I guess, a car battery. No, they didn't use a car battery. They used a bunch of 9-volt batteries that were actually stuck together to each other. You know how there's the male and female on the terminals of a 9-volt battery, the one where one is a smaller one and one is a larger one. Well, one actually can insert into another. They're opposites of each other. Well, you can actually link them, daisy chain them together. And if you do it that way, you're increasing the voltage while maintaining the current capacity. Or if you do it the other way, I think was it parallel versus series. In parallel, you're increasing the voltage, and in parallel, you're keeping the voltage the same. In series, you're increasing the voltage because you're stacking the piles, quite literally. You're stacking the voltaic piles. I hope I'm right about that. I mean, before actually constructing something, I would definitely be doing research on every little detail like that. That is a very important detail that you do not ever want to get wrong. And since I don't do that kind of stuff for a living or on a daily basis, I absolutely would be looking up everything. Okay, and what I also wanted to demonstrate here was not only this lens here. It's not just a lens, it's actually the main. I mean, the rest of this stuff here is the circuitry board for the controller. You see, there's the logo, the Mobius, etc. Mobius V62. This is actually a removable, and you can actually buy a separate lens for it. You can buy multiple lenses. There are custom ones. You can also buy special, I guess, one of these things with a longer ribbon cable. Obviously, there's a technical limitation to how long it's allowed to be without, breaking. Oh, there it has a date of manufacture. Yeah, this is a very high quality item, by the way. Look how long it's lasted. I mean, look, it's obviously 2013. I got it in 2013 when I was driving, and I had it for a dash cam for insurance purposes. While I've got this video running here, it's got tripod mount, and it's also a dash mount. Okay, you can even remove that and use it as all kinds of different things. You can mount it onto helmets and things like that. And the body, the case, just very simply, here's the back of it, as you can see. It just very easily slides right in. Okay, there, and you get the idea here. Where's it's hard to keep track of it. Okay, so that's the back, and then that would be the front. Yeah, so then you would still have all your controls. There's the front right there, slides in. There's the port for the back, because that's where you have your cable. Okay, and there's all your controls. This metal, by the way, these are not buttons, these are heat sinks. And these 3 buttons, those are your main controls. Oh yes, there's also an LED there, so that when you're driving, especially, it's very useful to tell you by its state of flashing whether it's recording or what. Okay, that means it's recording. You can tell by the rate of its flashing, and also that it's flashing instead of solid or off, for instance. Now this here gives you a little more information. Even though it's just one LED, it's actually several LEDs. It tells you the status and the mode. So right now this is amber. That indicates that it's recording in mode 1. The configurations are programmed into, you program them using the software, or you can even use a text file, I believe, and you set what there's 3 different modes, and let's see, if I pause the recording here, I really don't like to be messing with this thing like this too much. I don't want to break anything here. It's quite robust, but this is a removable, as you can see right there. It's a standard type of ribbon attachment, and you can just pull that off, and it would come right out. Oh, this is also great as especially if you get that attachment. I think you can get an attachment that's maybe even several feet long, maybe a good 1.5 feet, I think, and like a snake camera. And it's just, if you already have this thing, I mean, this thing, I forget what it was, like $200. Really, really a good price for what it is, especially back then. I mean, now I'm sure it's probably cheaper and whatever, but even now, this is a very good